Module 2, Lesson 13, we're actually going to begin to use the standard algorithm for division, which is another word for long division. In this lesson, your objective is that you will understand how place value is used in the standard algorithm for long division and that you can use it correctly. Now, first thing is we have 281,886 divided by 33. We don't have any vocabulary words, so that's why it's skipped there. Now, we're going to use estimation just so we can check our understanding of place value, but also so we can check our math. So this is a 2.8, which means this will go up to a 30. So that's 300,000. This is a 33. That 3 means I'm going to round down, so that'll be a 30. So 300,000 divided by 30 is 10,000. So if I do my long division correctly, it should be close to 10,000. So because we're going to be working with numbers that are usually not our factor or not our multiples that we're used to, the first step and what I'm going to require you to do before I'll even check your answers is that you have to make a table with the multiples for 1 through 9 of the divisor. Remember, your divisor is that second number. So there's my divisor. That one's my dividend. Please write that down. So with my divisor being 33, I'm going to write out all the multiples for 33. Now for this one, I did it for you. And this is how I expect the table to look. So if you come up and this is all that you have, it will not count. Because you have to have what you're multiplying it by so you understand which number belongs in the algorithm. And you only have to go to 9 because you're never putting 2 digits at a time. You're only putting 1 digit at a time. And here are all of our 1-digit numbers, all of the ones possible. So I have a 33 times 1 is 33, 33 times 2 is 66, 33 times 3 is 99, so on. Now, I would double check all of your work with the calculator when you write it down just to make sure that you are not miscalculating. I know it's fun to do it in your head, but I do think it's important that you check your math every time just to make sure that you aren't working with the wrong multiples. Now, please use your calculator to double check it because if you do this table wrong, your answer will be wrong and you have to do it all over again. So let's go ahead and start. Here is a 2-digit number. So I start with 2 digits. It's a 28, which is smaller than my divisor. So I have to go to another digit. So now I have hundreds. So that's 281 divided by 33. Now, technically, what we're doing is 281,000. So we're ignoring all of this. So really what I could do is add zeros on to the end when I write the number down. We're just skipping that. So we have 281. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to find the number closest to 281 without going over. So I have a 297, which is too big. I have a 264, which is underneath it. And that means my 8 is what's going up in the quotient. So I have an 8 here. And this is 264, and again, technically, that's 264,000 because this is in the thousands place. So then when I subtract, the 6 is here, my 8 is here, my 8 is here. I have to borrow, that's a 7, this becomes an 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1, 2 minus 2 is 0. Now, I only go to the next digit over. So I did my 281. Now I go to my 8. I'm going to draw my line. So that's 178 hundreds. So 178 divided by 33. I'll go over here. I have a 198 and a 165. 165 is under 178. So that means my 5 goes in the next place. And then I have 33 times 5 is 165. And again, this is hundreds. And then I subtract. And that is a 3 and a 1. 8 minus 5 is 3. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then what would happen is you just bring the next number down, which is 8, because we just go 1 digit at a time. But if we subtract all of it, that's 1,386. but I can only go to my next digit. So I'm going to take my line, I'm going to draw it down. Now I'm working with 138. 138 divided by 33. I go over here. I have a 132 and a 165. 132 is the closest to it. That means 4 goes in the next place value. So I'm subtracting 132 tens, and so that's just 1 0 at the end. And I subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 minus 0 is 6. And now I can go to my last digit, so I'm working with 66 now. 66 divided by 33, I have it right there. That's a 2. And then your answer is 8,542. Now, what I did is I put the place values in here so you could see why we do it that way. But the real way that we usually do it is that we don't add these zeros in here. And so these zeros aren't really here. And neither are the other numbers. So I took my zeros out. And all I'm going to do is show you that when we subtracted 8 minus 0, we got 8. And that's why it was 178 minus 165. And then we brought down the 8 here. And then the next one, we brought down our 6. You're more than welcome. If you want to do all of the numbers in there like I showed you, you can. If you already do it this way, you can. Or if you feel like this way is easier, do it that way. I don't mind either way. I'll do a couple more examples. You don't need to erase and do this part here. I just wanted to show you that that's what was happening. So I can even just add in the stuff that was there so you can see where that all was. But you don't have to do all those. They can be blank, and I'll show you that in your examples. So go ahead and go in your book to lesson 13, dividing multi-digit numbers using the algorithm. So we're going to estimate. This is already a 70, so we're just going to leave it at 70,000. And then 19 is really close to 20. So we'll just take 70,000 divided by 20. You don't need to do this in your head. You can use your calculator. 70,000 divided by 20. You get 3,500. So our answer, if we do it correctly, should be close to 3,500. Like I said, your first step is to make your table. And they built this table in for you. So we're going to write everything out. So I have a 19 times 1 equals 19. 19 times 2 equals 38. 19 times 3, 57. 19 times 4, 76. 19 times 5, 95. 19 times 6, 114. 19 times 7, 133. 19 times 8, 152. And 19 times 9, 171. Now, I have all of these here. So now I'm going to do the long division. Now, they actually give you the long division on the next page, right over here. Now, I'm going to rewrite it on the first page because I have my table on that page, so it doesn't make sense for me to have to flip back and forth between my pages. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to rewrite the equation they gave us because it's the same thing they have up there, 70,072 divided by 19, and I'm just going to write it right here. So 70,000, again, this is your dividend. That's your divisor. So you want to see how to spell that. There you go. So 70,072 divided by 19. Now, this is 2 digits. This is 2 digits. So I'm going to see which one of these is closest to 70 without going over. Well, this is over 70, so I have to go back. That means my 3 will go right here. I'm going to draw a line here so I make sure I keep everything in line. 19 times 3 is 57, so I'm going to subtract 57. I have to borrow from my 7, that will become a 6, and this becomes a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. 6 minus 5 is 1. Now, I have to bring down that 0, it's 130. Now remember, this is technically 57,000, because this is actually 3,000. This is in the thousands place. So if you wanted, you could put 57,000, 0, 0, 0, do your subtraction, and you would get 13,072, but we can only do one digit at a time. And so you would only be working with the 130 hundreds. So the 72 could be here, you just wouldn't use it yet. So we have 130 divided by 19. So 130 divided by 19, I go over here, I see which one's closest to 130. Well, here's a 133. That's over 130, so I have to go back one, and that would be a 6. And so I'm going to put a 6 here. 19 times 6 is 114. This is in the hundreds place, so this is actually 6 hundreds, and this is 114 hundreds. And doing my subtraction, I have to borrow from my 3 tens. This become a 2, or 20, and this become 10. So 10 minus 4 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. And again, we would put our zeros here, and we could subtract and get 72, but we can only use that first number, which is the 7. So I'm going to draw this line, make sure I keep things in line. And you could have the 2 here, you're just not using it yet, because we're only in the tens place now. So I have 167 divided by 19. So I go over here, I look where is the closest to 167 without going over. So here's a 171, which is too much. So I have to go to the one below it, which is an 8, which is 152. So I'm going to put my 8 here. And that's 152. Going to subtract it. 7 minus 2 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. And then I'm going to bring down the 2 because now I can use my 1's place, and that's 152. And I look here, my 8 is 152, so I'm going to put an 8 here. And so your answer is 3,688. If I compare that to my estimation, that's really close. 3,500, 3,688. My estimation lets me know this answer does make sense, and it is correct. And I'm going to know it's correct, so I'm going to check it with my calculator. So I'm going to take my 70,000, or my 70,072. Why is it not doing that? 70,072 70,072 divided by 19. 3,688. My answer is correct. Now, going to your next page, I'm going to do example 2 for you. It's going to be the exact same process. So we're going to estimate. We have a 14 here. There's a 1 there, so it could stay as a 14 if you want. I'm going to round it up to 15 because this is a 315. And this 15 makes this round down to a 300. And so I want this to end in a 0 or a 5 so that I can divide easily without having to do a lot of extra thinking. So this is going to be a 15,000. 15,000 divided by 3. Remember the values, the zeros. This is my 10s, or this is my 1s. This is my 10s. When they're the same, we can mark them off. So this is 150 divided by 3, which is 50. So my answer should be close to 50. Now, Before I can do anything, I have a 315. First step is to make a table. So, making my table. You don't have to draw all the lines and everything. If you need the lines, I would use a piece of paper instead. Otherwise, just start writing it across. So 315 times 1. And pull your calculator out. You don't have to do all of this in your head. If you want, you can. Actually, it would take too long. So I would just ask that you use the calculator to make your table before you do your long division. So 315 times 2, 630. 315 times 3, 945. 315 times 4, 1,260. 315 times 5, 1,575. 315 times 6, 1,890. 315 times 7, 2,205. 315 times 8, 2,520. 315 times 9, 2,835. So now my table is complete. I can do my long division. And again, you have to have all of this written down before I will pass you on. So we have a 14,175 divided by 315. So this is a 3-digit number, so the hundreds, so I have to do 3 digits here, which actually lands me right here in the hundreds place as well. So 141. I look over here, I don't have anything that's less than 141, so I now have to go all the way over to the tens place. I have a 1,417 tens. So I go over here and I look for something that's close to 1,417. I have a 1,575, which is too much, so I go down, and that would be a 4, so my 4 goes in my tens place. And then I subtract 1,260. Now, I take 7 minus 0 is 7. And again, there's actually a 0 here, but we're not going to worry about doing that subtraction because we'll bring it down after we subtract. I can't do 1 minus 6, so I have to borrow from my 3 or my 4. That 4 becomes a 3, and this 1 becomes a 10 because I'm going to take the 10 from the 40 or from the 4. So 11 minus 6 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now I have to bring down my next number, which is in the ones place, and I have a 1,575. 575, I go over here, I have one right there, and it's the 5, so I have to put a 5 here. I finish the problem out. My answer is 45. I check it with my estimation, which was 50. It's really close, so then it makes sense, and I feel confident that my answer is correct, but we're going to go ahead and check it in the calculator to make sure that my confidence is accurate. So that's 14,175 divided by 315, which gives me 45, which is my answer. Now, in your exercises, I would like you to go ahead and do 2 and 5. But before you, 2 and 5, that's good. You have examples of, so you're dividing by a 2-digit number here, and for 5, you'll be dividing by a 3-digit number. Again, just use your calculators, don't worry about it. as far as doing it in your head. I'm going to have you do 5 though, because it is a more challenging one. It puts you in the millions here, which is several digits. But when we move in tomorrow, you'll have to do long digits as well.